Shalom, good day, good night, Niha, wassalam to all. We are back in the building and we're going to break it down. Amber Guyger, guilty of murdering black neighbor Botham Jean in his own home. Now, a lot of people have heard about this when the initial incident took place, and we were wondering what is going to happen. We're going to unpack it. I got Prime Minister with me.
Yeah, man, we in the building, man. Um, this one, this is crazy. This is crazy, and it leaves me to the. It brings me back to the question that I asked so many times, and what the hell is going on in America, man? It's getting from bad to worse. Now we've seen the executions from across the pond. We've seen the executions of your Mike Browns, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland. We ain't seen her executed, but you know what I mean. We've seen the injustices constantly. That we've seen it, but this one hits home. This one's a little. This one hurts a little bit more personally, and that's because this brother was in the comfort of his own home. He didn't actually even engage or do anything at all wrong. I just feel like the story that this lady has made up sounds ridiculous. I just feel like the system over there they almost everything about it's cringe. Like I mean, even down to the trial they put on TV that you can watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
She's being comforted. She is being comforted, and I just feel like this has got privilege all over it. I mean, this lady walks into this man's house, tries to fool the public by saying that she got the wrong flat, which that's a load of rubbish, and executes this man. Now, I'm going to bring you in just in a second, Noble. You walk into this man's house, even if we were stupid enough to believe the story that you made up, how is this man who's sitting in his boxers, eating ice cream, a threat to you, even if you believed it to be a burglar? What type of burglar sits in his boxers and eats ice cream? You mean to tell me that your only choice was to open fire and kill this man? No, but talk to me.
100% correct. 100% correct. Now I'm going to work backwards. Police officers, army, law enforcement, if they're trained to use firearms, they're trained to kill. That is it. They go through hours upon hours of intensive training to draw their weapon and to stop a threat. So generally, when these peace officers or police officers are drawing weapons, they're not, as we would think in our heads, they should maybe shoot someone in the leg. That's not their training. So they will be going against their training to do such thing. Now, as you've highlighted, Prime, this officer made statements and it has gone to court and has now been found guilty. And her statements of defense is she was confused and thought she was going to her own home and stumbled across somebody else's home and thought that he was an intruder in his boxer shorts eating ice cream. Now, I know the world has become a very strange place. There are a lot of strange things happening, but I really do not think people who are breaking into homes are going to disrobe, calmly sit down, take ice cream out, food, whatever, and eat that whilst they're burgling a home. That is preposterous. Her defense is lacking any form of credibility. It almost seems like, putting on the tinfoil hat, and I use that in jest. But this brother was executed. Now, did she have a personal vendetta? I don't know. Was she paid to do this? I don't know. Was she made to do this? I don't know. But what I do know is that her story is not making sense. And a surprise to all, but I mean, this is blatant, but it seems that justice was served in Dallas, Texas, a place where you can freely pretty much roam around oh, you think it's open carry down there in most parts of Texas.
Yes.
So there's a massive gun culture, not just in America. I mean, specifically in Texas, they have conventions and fairs where they're selling firearms, etc. This is a big thing down there. It's worrying, man. Very worrying.
This was an execution. I agree with you completely with that. This was an execution, and she felt comfortable in doing so. Her story, I mean, let's turn the tables just for a brief minute. Imagine a black man had repeated that type of story. I mean, it would be laughed completely at the park. The headlines would have been 10 times worse if you was to say that you went to the wrong apartment and you shot thinking it was your apartment. I mean, the judge would look at you and almost laugh and throw the book at you. I don't understand how it's even a question if her story's made up. This is why I don't understand that the media are even making this a conversation. I mean, this is about the most ridiculous thing I've heard all year. That you went into the wrong apartment and executed a man, because that's what it was. To go back to a point that you made earlier, Noble, I feel like this was a personal vendetta. I feel like the gentleman maybe played music or done, or maybe there had been an exchange previously, and she decided to make this move. Another thing that I feel completely angered about is that the news are speaking about that the victim had weed in his system. Now, let me repeat. They're saying that this victim had weed in his system. Now, that is not important to this story at all. If a man's in the comfort of his own home, he can do 10 backflips and eat 1,000. He could be sniffing coke, taking crack, doing all kind of things because he's in the comfort of his own home. She even, sign number one, she gets to this man's apartment and her key does not work.
Yeah.
The tests have proven she wasn't under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Her mind was completely in the correct place because she was able to text back and forth with her married lover. Let's not forget that. She was able to do that with a clear head. But she still felt the need to proceed after she realized her key hadn't worked. Now, people, please put yourself in this lady's shoes. Just think about it. You go to a home that you believe to be yours and the key doesn't work. You are not going to then try the door after that. And even once you do try the door and the victim happened to have left the latch off at this point, and you enter the property, straight away the smell, you know the smell of your home.
Mm-hmm.
Straight away you know the feel of your home. Like, I know that something that I do, and it's very routine to me, is I wipe my feet on the mat as I get through the door. So once you get through that door and the feel of that mat isn't the same, you maybe might not notice a picture, you maybe might not notice a piece of carpet, the paint's different. There's going to be something that tells you this is not my home. Then even when you do see this man and you still are foolish enough to believe that you're in your home after all these things that I've just said, and then you do see this innocent man, yeah, you should say to yourself, well, hold on a second. He's sitting down in boxers, eating ice cream, watching TV. Where's the threat? This man's not in black clothes and a ski mask. This man is near enough naked eating ice cream. So how do you then decide that he's a threat? And even when you pull the gun, why unload? Why fire? Why not pull the gun and say, oh, what you doing in my house? Give the man the chance to even say, oh, hold on, this is my house, what are you talking about? How do you just pull and empty the weapon like that? And you go for a kill shot? The man's sitting down. It's not. You don't even go for a leg shot. This was something that she had planned out in her head, Noble. And I feel like the media have almost, the aftermath of the police getting to the property and them actually comforting this criminal is a slap in the face of all of us. How are you? Even if, like I said, the tables turn, straight away you'd be in handcuffs. Immediately, they comforted this woman, and they almost. It's been sickening to watch. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I've struggled to watch a lot of it, and another thing. These platforms in America, I don't understand why they're not talking about this. I'm talking about black platforms. I mean, the only person I've seen so far is Star Noble.
Yes, facts, absolute facts. It's been very difficult to digest and even research this heinous act which took place. Looking and listening to some of the statements that the neighbor, I can't remember what the neighbor's name, young brother, he said that every day he would be woken, not woken, but he would be able to hear this young other brother whose life has been extinguished, stolen from the earth. He was singing. Maybe he was, I don't know if this was his profession, but he loved to sing. And the neighbor was saying every day we'd hear this guy sing, and he got real emotional and started crying when he was making these statements and stuff. So as you highlighted, Prime, maybe it wasn't a music thing. Maybe she didn't appreciate his singing, because if other neighbors are hearing his thing, then she could be potentially hearing the singing, and maybe she doesn't like what he's singing, or it's too loud, etc. And maybe they did have that, wait a minute, you're always singing, you might be happy and stuff, but I'm not happy. I don't want you singing too so loud, and then they could have had that back and forth. We don't know, because she hasn't even had the decency to actually express the truth. Now, I'm saying this based upon the evidence which has been presented and what I've researched. Ultimately, the Most High, the victim who's no longer with us, and trustly is up there with the Most High, and this former police officer, who I will add, will spend trustfully a very lengthy time within the penitentiary. She is the first Dallas Police Department officer to be convicted of murder since the 1970s. So this clearly is a very rare thing to take place for a police officer to be convicted of murder. I'm glad it has happened. And I think, based upon one good thing I will say, one very good thing I'll say is the police officers who were frantically running up the stairs, and you can see the dash cam footage. They immediately pretty much started with the CPR, and tried to save this brother's life. Now, I will say that little, 2-second little shot of her running past, she did look like she was, what would be the best word to use? She did look shocked. I wouldn't say she was distressed. I won't go that far, but she did look shocked about the situation. I think reality then hit her that, look, I've actually potentially taken someone's life here. That was the reality check. It sunk in then. All this argument or whatever the situation is, has now resulted in me killing this person. But as you say, she goes downstairs, she's got her hands open, and you can see on the dash cam footage, the police officers consoling this criminal. Now, I don't know what the procedure is. Now, police will have to do an internal investigation, but based upon those blatant facts that she wasn't on call, she was on duty, she wasn't responding to a call of an emergency. She went to the house and executed somebody. So I would have thought, and again, I'm not in law enforcement, that she should have been in the handcuffs. There should have been, maybe some form of, you know, calming you down kind of thing. But we need to put you in handcuffs, young lady. We're going to need to sit in the back of the cruiser. We need to take you back, and we need to do a full investigation on this. And depending on what happens, you may not be leaving here on bail. That should have been the situation. I don't know what happened.
I feel like it's that police thing, innit? I feel like because she's a police, they've backed her. That's what I personally think. I think they've backed her, and I think the media have backed her. And one thing I will say is people shouldn't celebrate just yet that she's been found guilty, because she hasn't been sentenced yet. And if the information's correct that I've read online today, if she gets sentenced to 10 years or less, she can appeal it and have the charge dropped to manslaughter. That's what I've heard today. That's what I've seen online, that she can appeal this and have it dropped to manslaughter and be out much quicker, because the judge, which is the black lady, by the way, whoever's call it is to make, we're looking to make this a stand your ground thing. That's what they were trying to do.
Yes.
And this is when I just thought that it sounded so ridiculous, because this man was completely innocent, but they still wanted to make it a stand your ground thing. So I just feel like, regardless, that she's had a lot of backing, even just small things like reading articles, you can see that they're trying to almost back the story that she's put out there. Not directly, but you can see a lot of the words that they're using, and they're trying to back what she's put out there. And then secondly, when you look at the aftermath of when she executed the man, she didn't even phone him an ambulance. She phoned her police friend straight away. And that's when, at that point, that's when I believe that they put this story together. You get what I'm saying? I believe they put this story together, and she put on a performance worthy of winning an Oscar when she was on the stand the other day. I can see right through that. She turned the tears on. She was saying all kind of things because she wants it to look like an accident. But there's just no way this was an accident. And I just think we're living in 2019, and we don't make mistakes like that. No. This was a apartment on the floor above you. Like the human brain, and mind is such a beautiful thing, and it's so much more. It's so much more. I don't even know the correct word to use, but it's so much more. Oh, there it is. The human brain is so much more advanced than we actually know. And I'm going to explain that. Do you know that even small things like your mind gauges the amount of length between each stair in your house?
Yes.
So even if you're going upstairs, like if you're someone who's got a toilet that's upstairs, and you go upstairs to use the toilet, your mind tells you the space in between each step, even if you're half asleep. Your mind tells you the length and duration of time it takes to get to the top. You do that effortlessly every day. A lot of people don't even know that. You do that effortlessly. Just think about the difference between the steps in your house and the steps when you go to a new place. A new place like somewhere in the public. You don't even have to look, and you can do that step effortlessly multiple times a day. This woman, and the whole reason I say that is to say, this woman went to an apartment that was a whole floor above her. So when she carried on going to that, when she got to her level and she continued upstairs, her mind alone would have told her, we've been travelling for too long. This is not your apartment. So the story that she's come up with, I think we both can agree, sounds absolutely ridiculous. Now, all I can say is I hope justice will be served, but that's something that we'll have to wait and see.
Facts. Rise in paradise to the brother whose life was stolen. And I think that was an excellent point that you brought up, the auto-programmed character. Another example is when you're driving from work to home. But the closer you get to home, sometimes you can get home and get to your drive and pull up and you think, damn, I'm home already. You don't even realize the turns, the stops, the roundabouts you've gone over, the twists and turns of that whole journey because you've done it so regularly. Your auto-programmed character takes over, and that memory of the journey, the mental journey, takes over. So, as Prime so easily highlighted, that will not take place. You are not going to go past or underneath where you're supposed to be living. You live on the second floor, you're going to be going to the second floor unless you have a motive and a reason to go elsewhere. And if you're going elsewhere, you know you're not going home. So the sentence is 5 to 99 years. That's what it carries in Texas. Trustfully, they'll put her underneath the jail with the 99 years. There will be no parole, and truly justice will be served.